Funding for this program is provided in part by Bruce Foods Corporation, makers of the complete line of Cajun King seafood seasoning mixes and other distinctive Louisiana-style food products. Additional funding is provided by the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism. Anytime, any place. In Louisiana, we're really cooking.
Louisiana. Hi, I'm Chef John Folse, welcoming you to the bayous of South Louisiana. Today, Cajun and Creole cooking holds a prime spot in the world of international cuisine, and I would love for you to know a little bit about it. So why not sit back, relax, and join me and some of my friends as we cook up another great Taste of Louisiana. Hello and welcome to Taste of Louisiana. I'm Chef John Folse, and today we're celebrating the Shrimp Festival in Louisiana. And a little bit later on, I'm going to have one of the greatest shrimpers, a guy who spent a lot of his life on the Gulf of Mexico bringing in these beautiful jewels right here to come and visit with us on the set. Loulan Pitre, a great Cajun from Cutoff, Louisiana. You know, the shrimp industry is one of the greatest industries in this fabulous state, and many people make their living off of the Gulf of Mexico. Here we have a great shrimp trawler, Our Lady of Fatima, going out into the Gulf. This boat, I guess, is about 50 or 60 feet long and employs a crew of about 2 or 3 people. These big electric winches will actually drop the nets, or trawls as we call it, out into the Gulf waters, and instantly the mouth of the net will open up, allowing all the shrimp to crawl right inside. These outer boards, or outer doors as we call them, will actually position the mouth of the net and then at the same time bring the trawl all the way to the bottom of the Gulf where the shrimp are actually living. You see, these nets now are about 1,000 feet to 2,000 feet out into the water. These little bitty test trawls that you're looking at right now is actually dropped overboard, and the test trawls are used to do just that. Test the water. You see how it hangs out on the side of the trawler. And I guess, you know, just like everything else in life, every day is not a good day. You can notice as this net opens up, look at all those little bitty trash fish and crabs. Very little big beautiful shrimp that this trawler has spent most of the day looking for. But of course, that's what all those gulls are doing out there. Here comes one of the big trawlers in, of course tying up, and instantly these brown 35-count shrimp are unloaded into the baskets. And gee, look how nice that is. The chains are getting ready for weighing. That's what they're doing, putting them in and separating them and off onto the conveyor belts where the shrimp are actually shaken. Look at the water dripping off onto the slab. That's getting all of the ice and water so that the right weight can be determined as they come into the baskets. These are about a 25 count to the pound shrimp. Here some of the fishermen are deheading, and that's the premium way to deliver shrimp to the dock. Once they're deheaded, they're put into these shrimp boxes, or baskets as the fishermen call it, and then they're loaded onto the trucks for distribution all over the United States, as well as to restaurants just like mine. That's just a sample of the shrimp industry that employs about 35,000 people here in Louisiana, an industry that accounts for about $185 million into our retail economy. And I'm going to tell you what, that's not peanuts where I come from. But today, we're going to cook shrimp. And when we talk about shrimp in Louisiana, we talk about a lot of different kinds of shrimp. We have white shrimp, we have brown shrimp, we have pink shrimp, or spotted shrimp as it's called, and we even have a little strained shrimp in Louisiana called the sea bob, which looks almost like a little lobster, 6 or 7 spines coming right out of the front of its face. It's an eerie-looking little creature. In the Mississippi River, in the Atchafalaya River, we have these great little freshwater shrimp that for so many years the Cajuns living on the bayous would put boxes in the Mississippi River and pick up some of these freshwater river shrimp and cook with vegetables and do all kind of nice soups and gumbos and shrimp and okra stews and things like this. So we're going to talk about those kind of shrimp also. But generally speaking, when we talk shrimp, we talk about a multitude of different types of recipes. Fact is, I have a cookbook in my office that has over 400 recipes for just shrimp. Can you imagine that? 400 different recipes. And I guarantee you, every Cajun living on the bayou has at least that many recipes also. Let's get this old black iron pot fired up here because I'm going to do a shrimp and 3 lettuce soup. And when we do a shrimp and 3 lettuce soup, which is a soup that's been around for a long time, we're going to start off by putting a little bit margarine, butter, or oil. Look at this great old bottle. I love my butter bottle here. I'm going to pour right into the black iron pot of the Cajuns, and I'm going to get this fire kicked up. And since it's 3 lettuces, that's exactly what I'm going to put in it. A little romaine I'm going to cut real thin. This will be one of the flavoring devices of the soup. I'll put some of the romaine in, and I'll get this out of my way. Of course, I'll put a little bit of red leaf lettuce. Any kind of lettuces are fine. You don't have to have a particular type. I just like to use these 3 lettuces because they look so pretty in the pot. So I'll put a couple of nice slices of the red leaf, and then of course some Boston Bibb. And the Bibb lettuce is real nice and mild, so I'll throw a couple slices of that. 3 different lettuces into the pot. Look how nice those pretty colors come together. As we do with all cooking in South Louisiana, all Cajun cooking, I'm going to throw in a little onion, celery, bell pepper, and it's not important to measure because, you know, we feel we know a little bit about cooking and it doesn't really matter how much you put in, it'll only make it better. So we start off onions, celery, how nice that is, all finely diced, of course. Bell pepper, we have to have the sweet bell pepper all going into the pot, and I'm going to put in some pretty red bell pepper because I want that color. This is a dish that's going to have a lot of color. You have to look down in that pot and see how nice that is. Look at those colors just sauteing away. And then, of course, garlic. I love garlic. As I do in all of my dishes, I'm going to put a lot of garlic. It's the oldest spice known to man. Most people don't realize garlic is the only spice mentioned in the Bible. So I'm going to put that down in there. Saute these vegetables around quickly, just like that. How nice the colors are. That's a very important thing in cooking to make sure that we have all of the colors coming together. Into that, lettuce, 3 lettuces. Now that seems like a strange combination, lettuces and onions and shrimp and all of that, but in fact, that's what we do in Louisiana, combine many different flavors into one pot. Now the shrimp, we're going to start off with a little bitty peel and deveined, about 100 count shrimp. You can see how nice they are. They're going to add flavor to the dish rapidly because they're so small. And these little shrimp, the Indians and Cajuns used to dry in the sun and call it Cajun popcorn. They just eat the dried shrimp all day long. Very nice shrimp. But we don't want anybody to get mad at us, so we're going to use some of these beautiful 21, 25 count to the pound shrimp right into the pot. Look how nice they are. Right down in there. Move that around quickly. And all that shrimp flavor will begin to come together right into the pot. Now, I'm going to have to thicken this with something. So I'm going to add a little flour to it. And as I add the flour, I realize that just the right amount will thicken the soup to the right consistency that I'm looking for. So I'll guess at about a ½ cup. And of course, you can always thicken it with a little blonde roux later if you want to. You stir this around. And while I was getting ready this morning, I took the liberty to make a shrimp stock. I took all of the shells of the shrimp that I've already cleaned, and I've put them into a pot with onion, celery, and bell pepper and garlic. And into the pot now, I'm going to add this nice hot shrimp stock. Woo, boy, look at here. Look at that sizzle. Shrimp stock, adding all that great flavor right to our soup. About 3 good ladles, and I'll measure this around. And you know, you noticed on the front of that boat was the name Lady of Fatima out of Golden Meadow, Louisiana. It's very important that our Blessed Mother would be on the front of the boat because each year the bishops, the Catholic bishops of Louisiana, go out onto the bayous and actually bless the fleet as it goes out on that first day of shrimp season to ensure that they have a good season. A lot of religion built into the shrimp season even in Louisiana. Look how beautiful this soup is coming together. What we have here now is called a velouté. We have a real nice shrimp stock. Look how beautiful the shrimp are coming together with the lettuce in the pot. And what I'm going to do now is add the heavy whipping cream. The shrimp are so low in calories, we have to add calories somewhere. So I'm going to add in a little heavy whipping cream into the pot. Right there, just really nice. And what I'll do is take the soup now and just let it sit here. I'll season it lightly in just a minute, but I don't want to season too early. I want all the natural flavor of the shrimp and lettuce and garlic and onions to all come together into this black iron pot of the Cajuns as the shrimp and three lettuce soup starts to develop. And what I'll do at this point is move it to a little lower heat right back here so that it can continue to cook. I'll move it right off. See if I can get this fire real low so that we don't scorch it. Get one of these napkins because I know this is going to be hot. Look how pretty that is. I'll move it right here. And of course, the three lettuce soup will continue to cook for probably about another, let's say 20, 15, or 20 minutes until all the flavors come together. Then I'll hurry over and season it up, and it'll be ready to eat. A very quick soup, shrimp and three lettuce from all of the great shrimp of Louisiana. Now what I'd like to do is our second dish, which is a real favorite of mine at the restaurant here in Louisiana. It's called Shrimp Viala. And when we talk about Shrimp Viala, we're talking about a shrimp named after one of the great plantation homes in Louisiana. I want you to look at these beautiful 15, 16, 20 count shrimp. That's 16 shrimp to the pound, if you can imagine this. Look how beautiful they are. And I'm going to make a stuffing because we're actually going to use another seafood stuffing to stuff these shrimp. So I'll leave them here while we come on over to the food processor. And I'll open up the top of this processor. This stuffing is just so simple to do. I'm going to start with crawfish. We're in South Louisiana. We have to start something with crawfish. The metal blade is in the food processor. I've got the crawfish going in right now. In fact, let me put it all in there. And then I'll do it, as we do with everything else, a little onions. Have to have onions in the dish. Of course, celery. We're always looking for extra flavor in the pots of the Cajuns and Creoles. Always looking for that extra flavor. Garlic. And then I'm putting into this a little andouille, which I'll add to the soup a little bit later because I want to make sure that the andouille, which is the smoked ham in South Louisiana, is adding that smoked flavor to the soup, but I don't want to add it too early. Okay, now into that I'll put a squeeze of lemon right there. And then I'll put the top on the food processor and I'll pulse it for a couple of minutes just to get the stuffing really nice and worked up with the vegetable seasonings in here. See how nice that is? Then I'll add one egg right down in there and just a little touch of cream right down into it. And the egg and cream will actually hold the stuffing together while the shrimp are cooking. Okay, that looks great. Now I'll remove the food processor. Well, actually, I'm going to season right into the food processor by putting a little salt, a little pepper, and I'm using cracked black pepper, a little salt, a little thyme and basil, some of the fresh spices of Louisiana. I'll also put into it a little touch of Louisiana hot sauce, just one or two little dashes, and then some Loulan Pitre, just a little touch. Right into that. And then for color, I need that color. I'll put some red bell pepper. Of course, a little carrot because I am looking for that color. And I'll pour all of this into my bowl. Get a little wooden spoon here. Into my bowl so I can mix it all together and make sure it's nice and flavorful, as I know it will be. How pretty that is. And of course, some parsley and green onions right at the end. Parsley and chopped green onions right into the dish. So I'll work this crawfish stuffing around, and it's interesting to note that we're stuffing shrimp with crawfish. Very, very common in Louisiana, and I've even added some of the andouille, the smoked sausage, to give the stuffing a nice smoked flavor. So a lot of different combinations. Now, I'll take the large shrimp, and I'll run my knife blade. I hope you can get a good shot of this. I'm going to run my knife blade right through the shell, all the way through the tail. I'm keeping the shell on, and I'm going to lift the tail meat right out of the shell like this to make sure that the shell doesn't stick. And then I'm going to stuff it with this beautiful stuffing. Look how nice that is. I'll put the stuffing right in there like that. And we'll continue to do that with some shrimp that's already open. It's nice, just really, really nice. And I've got a couple of them already stuffed. I'll move this out of the way. I've got a couple of these already stuffed, and I want to show them to you. And I'll plate them up because I want to show you what they look like. Look at here, when they come out of the oven, I've baked them with a little butter and a little bit sherry on top of them. And see how pretty they are with all the nice colors of Louisiana. And I'll take a couple of them and put right onto the serving plate like this. Look how nice that is. 2 of them as an appetizer, 3 as an entree. Then we can come and put some green on one side. What about some of this nice purple cabbage right down in the center of the plate? Maybe another little touch of that. And that is our jumbo Shrimp Viala, named after the old Viala plantation house in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. So I'll move that right here. We'll taste that a little bit later on. So that brings us to our next dish. We've just stuffed shrimp with, let me put this out of the way. We've just stuffed shrimp with crawfish. Now I'd like to stuff a vegetable with shrimp quickly. So I'll take my little saute pan, and again, we're going to come in with a little butter, just a little bit. Boy, I tell you what, $185 million a year. Gee, that's a lot of shrimp. And I can tell you, there's a lot of people looking to eat shrimp in Louisiana also. You can see a little smoke coming out the front there. This is our hot fire. Let me lower that just a little bit. And to make the stuffing for the squash, I'm going to actually do a shrimp stuffed squash. I'm going to do the yellow squash. And I'm going to take it, and you see the squash have already been cut and boiled, so it doesn't take long to boil them, so they're nice and tender. And to make the stuffing, I'm going to do the same thing I did just a couple minutes ago. I'm going to put a touch of onions, a touch of celery, and a little bit bell pepper and garlic. And then I'm going to saute again. Put a little garlic in there. I'm going to saute some fresh squash because I'm going to stuff it with squash. A little green squash, just for a lot of color. And again, a little red bell pepper. And I'm going to put some of those 100-count shrimp right down into the dish. Look at those pretty 100-count. They're already peeled and deveined. And we'll be able to stir that around quickly. See how hot that fire is, really nice. And it doesn't take long for the squash to actually cook into the stuffing. Really, really quick. So what I'll do is add a little bit breadcrumbs. I know I have some breadcrumbs right here. I'll add breadcrumbs right into it and then season it nicely. And I'll use these, a little parsley, a little salt, a little pepper. And this will become the stuffing for these beautiful squash. And this is done because we're going to actually bake it in the oven for just a couple of minutes. And I'll stuff it right into the squash here. And we'll do that right in a couple minutes so that we can show it to you right at the end of the show. I'll move this right on over here. Now, as I promised you a little while ago, I have a great friend of mine, a really great friend of mine who's been shrimping all of his life in Louisiana, Loulan Pitre. A great, great guy who, I tell you, he knows a lot about cooking.
Hey, John.
Loulan, how you doing?
doing?
Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming to visit with us today. And you know, I'm surprised I could get you out of Hollywood. Somebody was telling me that you actually played the sheriff in one of the great movies in Louisiana.
Well, there's a little story to that. They couldn't find anybody in California that could even imagine what a Louisiana sheriff is supposed to do and be like. So we were desperate. We couldn't find anybody, and then they thought of me.
Well, I tell you,
And that operator can do anything, so we'll make him a sheriff. And I thought we did pretty good.
Well, I tell you, you did a great job. And
Yeah.
you know, Bob Duvall was the lead actor in Belisaire the Cajun, which you were the sheriff in. Did he like Cajun cooking? Did he like good Louisiana food?
Well, I kind of hesitate to comment on that because I'll probably see this program and I don't want him to think that I'm bad-mouthing him, you know, but that guy is a food addict.
Oh,
And constantly on the lookout for restaurants. And he visited my home, and all I did while he was there was spend my time at the stove, looking up for oysters, and I made that courtbouillon.
oh, good catfish could be
Redfish.
Oh,
And he loved it, and then he went to brag about it, and that got me in like Flynn, you know, for my role as sheriff, because he was a big wheel, and he wasn't about to chase me away after that.
Let me tell you what I want to do. I know that one of his favorite dishes was barbecued shrimp while he was here. And I know good and well that you have a lot of good recipes for barbecued shrimp, but we can continue to talk while we put a little bit of the shrimp into the pan for barbecuing. Now, I'm using, again, a 21-25 count shrimp. Do you grill them, don't you? You put them on the grill?
Grill them.
Well, these are from the Manali's restaurant recipe in New Orleans, one of the real famous restaurants. And there's many different recipes for barbecued shrimp in South Louisiana, but this one right here I think is my favorite because it takes the jumbo shrimp head on, and that's the important thing. And I guess there's just a lot of flavor inside of the heads of the shrimp. That's why we want to leave them on, I guess.
Leave the heads.
When you grill them on the outdoor pit, do you actually leave the heads on also?
Well, I hate to say there's a story behind everything I say, but when you barbecue in your backyard, a Cajun especially, he expects company. And he hates to really go out and put his best efforts into a meal and come gobble it up and leave without so much as a thank you. So when you want to eat really well done shrimp, I usually peel half and leave the shells on the other.
Leave the head on.
Leave the head on too, and really soak them. Sometimes I marinate them beforehand, and then the regular barbecue sauce.
Well, that makes a
to
great...
keep the heat low.
Yeah, it makes a great presentation
Oh,
also.
beautiful and
good. Well, what we're going to do with these is we're going to put them into this nice baking dish, and I'm going to season them the way Manali's did and the way we do here in South Louisiana. Loulan, why don't you give me that butter bottle right in front of you right there? I know you're a great cook. And, you know, you were in the shrimp industry for years and years and years. Did you own your own boats, or were you in business with someone else?
We owned our boat. It was a partnership between my brother and myself. And we went to Florida and bought a boat been built by Diesel Engine Sales, a good, reputable company. And it was a fine boat, and we made a good living.
What was a good catch? When y'all would come in from a couple of days out on a shrimp boat, what could you expect to unload at the dock?
Well, shrimping, it's like duck hunting. When you're plucking them, you know how many you've got.
That's a great...
Right?
that's a great analogy.
It was a matter of survival and raising our family, so we were really commercial and dedicated to that pursuit. And sometimes you 10, 15,000 pounds, sometimes 1,000 pounds.
10 or 15,000 pounds, and I was feeling sorry for you. I thought you were just one of those poor shrimpers. 10 or 15,000 pounds. These shrimp were $8 a pound. Let me start doing some Cajun accounting here.
That $8 a pound just came within the last year or so.
Look, we're going to go ahead and add some pepper, and we're using the cracked black pepper because we want to get some nice spice on this dish. We're going to add a little bit salt naturally to it because we want to put some seasoning there. Again, some basil, and I'm going to put some bay leaf, the leaves of the laurel tree, right onto it. And again, Worcestershire sauce. Got to put some good Worcestershire sauce, and I'm going to put a little olive oil also because olive oil will keep the butter from burning. So I'm going to put that right into it.
Do this in your backyard, you start putting up the curtains so the neighbors don't see that.
So the neighbors don't come rushing over,
Pluck them out of the pot before you get a chance to eat one of them.
What I want you to do for me is to take this right on over to the oven, get that towel over there, and I've got a pan of them already done in the oven. So why don't you put those in for me while I finish our soup, which I'm going to put right here, and get our ladle. Look how nice this is. I'm going to put the andouille into it right now to get that good smoked flavor right into the soup. Look how pretty that is. Again, some fresh parsley. How do they look?
Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, man, look at here, look at here. Beautiful. This is barbecued shrimp, Louisiana style. And I tell you, 21-25 count shrimp to the pound with all of those great season. I'm going to put some extra color in here also.
Yeah, I don't think you need too much color now.
Where's the French bread? Where's the French bread when we need it?
Bread.
Okay, here. You can take this French bread. Take your little taste of that.
Did you check the ice chest, see if
man, there's
enough beer in it?
There's some good beer waiting in the back right after this because beer is ice cold. Beer is always rolled with this
Man, I got to taste this. Got to taste this.
Boy, this is living. I was on the wrong end of this business. Catching them.
Well, I tell you, we use about, I would guess, about 200 pounds of these beautiful shrimp every week in our restaurants here in South Louisiana. And you know, when you go to eat them, you take the shrimp and you peel the head off, and then you take the shell off just like this. Loulan, I tell you, you're a credit to Louisiana bringing these things on shore. Look how nice they are. And I tell you, if I was a real close friend of yours, I love you to death, but I'm not close enough to peel shrimp for you.
No, I won't peel one.
I'll
If you
tell
give me permission,
hey,
I'll-
you just jump
I've
right
thought so
on
much
in.
about people plucking my shrimp out of my pots that I hate to do it. I feel a little guilty.
Go ahead and remember to always dip that French bread. Well, as always, whenever you're visiting with good friends in Louisiana, time is over before you know it.
Right.
But anyway, we've had a great time cooking shrimp and enjoying the Shrimp Festival, and I hope you have also. So remember, come on back and visit us next time as we cook up another one of those great Taste of Louisiana. Y'all come back. How's the shrimp?
Good.
Mm.